Hey, it's Zach again from Zach's Mild Adventures, and today, on this beautiful Sunday in late July, I decided to come check out another section of the Wilson Creek area since I'm very unfamiliar with it. And today I'm in the Lost Cove Wilderness Study area, and my goal today is to hike to 3 waterfalls on a big loop, starting with the Timber Ridge Trail and the Mountains of Sea Trail. And right now I just left the parking lot, so you immediately cross Gragg Prong Creek, which lays in front of me, and so far it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice little creek walk. But the goal is to go to Gragg Prong Falls and then Huntfish Falls, and then loop around and try to find little Lost Cove Creek Falls, which is a little off trail but seems like a pretty easy waterfall to get to from the map. But I've got one thing I'm trying today, brand new. It is my brand new tripod mount for my phone. So my camera is going to be a lot steadier today, and I can also turn around and do this pretty easily with holding the tripod. So you can get better pictures of me, but I'll let you see it for a second. So that's this tiny little mount, and it only costs, I think, $9 on Amazon, and you just screw it on to any sort of tripod you got. So now I can just carry this around and stabilize my video, so hopefully it'll turn out a lot better than my first ones. This is only my second time to the Wilson Creek area, but one thing I've really noticed is if these trails are following creeks, they mean business. A lot of the national forests in North Carolina is pretty easy to cross creeks, but each time I've been here, I've had to get wet crossing creeks. This looks manageable, but this is during a drought, and there's a lot of rocks and the creek's low. As we go downstream, it's going to get bigger and bigger. So if you come to Wilson Creek area, be prepared to get wet. I'm here at the base of Gragg Prong Falls. It's a little confusing to get here. The Mountains to Sea Trail doesn't actually lead to the base. It keeps going downhill wide around this gorge in that direction. I don't know exactly where the Mountains to Sea Trail crosses the creek, but there's a couple side trails that came down to this huge campsite. And I know I'm at the base of this. There's this really awesome cave right here. This is insane how big this is. A rock overhang, but it's a deep pool. But I don't know how to get, there's a lot of people. I don't know if they've screamed in a bit, but I hear a lot of people swimming way up here. So let's see if I can get a good view of this first. Oh, here we go. Man, this cave is awesome. But, alright, looks a lot easier now. This huge rock right here really intimidated me at first, but wow, this is cool. Alright, I think that's the main waterfall. So I've climbed up this huge rock, and it's a lot easier and safer than I thought at first. But man, this is a really, really good spot for exploring, and especially swimming. Because down here, it looks like a really safe swimming hole. And then you have the waterfall. Not as tall as I thought, but I think if it was wet, climbing where those people are would be really dangerous. According to the map, there's only one Gragg Prong Falls, but I just talked to a couple people, and they said there's actually 3 separate waterfalls on this trail, and this is referred to as Middle Gragg Prong Falls. So the previous waterfall was Upper Gragg Prong, And as you can see, super popular swimming area. There's a guy almost submerged to his head at the top of the falls. It looks really cool. So if you want to come swimming, this is your area. Here I am at the top of Lower Gragg Prong Falls, and I definitely remember this from pictures, how steep it looks and the slanted rocks guarding the little gorge. But wow, it looks like a really cool area. Can't wait to get to the bottom, but I might explore a bit up here first. There's actually an upper drop to this, or a separate waterfall. So instead of 3 waterfalls, honestly, if you can see this in the distance, that's about a 25-foot double slide waterfall also, 200 feet upstream. So maybe this is considered part of Lower Gragg Prong Falls, but could also be a separate waterfall in my opinion. Either way, this Gragg Prong continues to impress. Lots of awesome pools and places to explore. Okay, I've changed my game plan. I went far down the Mountains of Sea Trail, way beyond this waterfall. I mean, it goes at least half mile beyond this, and there's no discernible path down into this really steep, narrow gorge. And it would be a really long creek walk to get to the base. So I think after I eat, take a little break, I'm gonna try to scramble down this side and hopefully not seriously injure myself. But this is the best time to do it. It's really dry. The water's really low, so there's a lot of exposed dry rock. As long as I'm careful, I think I'll be able to get down that no problem. I just have to watch when I get near the water, and because I could slip easily right around this part. And honestly, at that point, I just worry about my camera getting wet. I am definitely excited right now. This was less challenging than I thought, but I had to do a little something to get down here, which was take my shoes off. There was no way my shoes were getting good grip on that rock on that slope. So took them off, let my feet dry out, and it was half foot and half butt crawl, but it wasn't too bad. And I don't think a lot of people get down here. If the rocks are wet, there's no way you're getting down that safely. But this is just a really cool spot at the bottom of Lower Gragg Prong Falls. I just saw a couple people up there and they had no clue how I got down. But this waterfall isn't very high, probably 40 feet, but it's a really awesome area. And just this narrow gorge that it goes through is almost inaccessible. So if you are visiting this waterfall, if it's dry, then take your shoes off and try to get down this. Just taking some video of 2 people I've been hiking near. I coached them on how to get down, so since I couldn't have a video of myself scrambling down, you can watch these 2 go barefoot. So they're using the same technique as me, barefoot until you don't feel safe, and then do a safe butt slide, and you can almost get all the way down, no problem. Here at Huntfish Falls. So I didn't really do any narration on that last part of the video, but that was Huntfish Falls. Probably the most popular waterfall on this hike, as you could see. Had really friendly, inviting rocks to explore and an amazingly large and deep swimming hole. And you could definitely jump off the lower ledge into that swimming hole, no problem. Saw some little kids doing it. It's probably about 7-foot drop. But beyond that, right now I'm following the Lost Cove Creek Trail, or the Lost Cove Trail. I don't know if creek's in the name, but right above the waterfall, the Mountains of Sea Trail turns left away from the creek and climbs up towards the road. And the map is unclear, but I think that the trail crossed the creek above the waterfall, and I've been following this for about half a mile, and it's still a trail. So I haven't seen any blazes, but this is definitely a nice track. There's no worry on my face, so I am definitely in probably the most remote area of this hike, which is following this trail far up Lost Cove Creek towards Little Lost Cove Creek Falls, and then it loops around above Timber Ridge to climb back to the parking lot. And it is doubtful that many people ever venture back here, but the trail seems to be in good shape, so hopefully I'll be able to find this last waterfall, which is not on the trail. We'll see. Otherwise, it's nice to get away from the people, because there's been tons of people throughout this entire hike just swimming. But it's been, I mean, it's a warm day. I almost jumped in and stopped doing this loop, but we'll see. I finally made it to Little Lost Cove Creek Falls. This is the lowest flow waterfall on this hike so far. And since this creek is the smallest, it's the most affected by this drought, because I've seen some pictures where more of this rock face is whitewater and foaming up. But it is a really massive cliff. I'd say 125 feet high. I can't really get it in the whole frame of the camera. And that tree is really blocking the view of the top of it. But I'm on this gigantic boulder right above the base, and this waterfall is off trail. It's not too far from the main trail, and there's actually a tiny little side trail that leads away that you can find right before you cross Little Lost Cove Creek. But that thing quickly disappears, and this is probably a quarter mile tops, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. But it's some real scrambling to get up here, and all this area is coated in could be poison oak. I didn't think it grew in North Carolina, but this is a lot, so I'm glad I wore my gaiters, because otherwise I might be really itchy later. But I mean, this is the most remote I've felt all day. I mean, this is just a giant waterfall in the middle of nowhere. But if you're gonna try to get here, you're gonna have to get dirty and go straight uphill and cross the creek a few times. But it is a pretty cool waterfall, though not my favorite of the day. The main trail inexplicably continues left, going uphill and switchbacks above the creek, going the opposite direction, and it made no sense. So I went back to this campsite out of view, and there's a small trail that went down to this island in between the creek, and It's a beautiful spot, but honestly, it didn't look like the main trail went that way to cross, because I know I have to go north to cross the creek. But to me, this looks like the crossing. I can actually see a wooden sign right there through the trees. So let's go see if we're in the right spot. Hopefully I don't drop my phone in this creek. Okay, let's see what the sign says. Okay. This is the only sign I've seen the entire time. So, it says 2 miles to Roseboro, which is the road I parked on. So this must be it. I think that this is just a campsite, and this is the trail right here. So we'll see. But if you are hiking this and the trail suddenly turns away, very far away from the creek, you've gone too far, go back to the campsite, go down to the creek, and eventually you'll see this little crossing. I've been climbing some switchbacks pretty steadily all the way from Lost Cove Creek to this unnamed mountain. I'm not at the top yet, but I'm getting close. It's a surprisingly long, steep climb for this area, since the mountains are pretty low. This is really the only kind of open view I've had on the trail. There are some views through the trees lower down on the switchbacks, but I think this is probably the best I'm going to get, considering the elevation of this area. My one disappointment, because on those views through the trees earlier, it's hard to make out, but through these trees are the big Lost Cove cliffs, and you could see even through the trees, like, it's a giant rock face. The cliffs are easily 200 feet high from what I could tell. Very impressive how it dominates this whole area, but unfortunately from this little outcrop I can't really see them. So I think the rest of the hike, once I get to the top of this mountain, it's all downhill, and less than a mile and a half, I'd say, at this point. So this has been I know this is going to end up as a pretty long video, but there was a ton to see, and I hope you enjoyed my tour of the Lost Cove Wilderness Study Area and all of its waterfalls. Until next time.